Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode 191. Today is April 5th. My name is Craig Perales. Joining me, Mandrew of Montemare.
You might notice that we're wearing sweaters, and normally we've been wearing short sleeve shirts and everything. That's because now it's like 50 degrees and like raining. So, like we've been saying, the weather's fluctuating like crazy here, but it is nice outside.
I know. I went outside earlier today and I was looking. I'm like, dude, it is really like just nice outside. It's like you could go for a casual stroll around the block.
Oh, now have you been? Oh, I was about to say, I don't know if you've been outside.
Well, I just
recently.
threw out the trash and grabbed the mail. It was a little windier, but you know,
super dark clouds, and it's going to rain.
Oh man, so
perfect gaming weather.
I'll bring that up with what I'm doing. So guys. Thank you for joining us today. If you're watching the YouTube channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. If you guys are interested in following us on any of our social media, our Linktree link is in the description. And if you guys are interested in listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, you can find that on the podcast platform of your choice. So, before we dive into our main topics today, Andrew and I like to, what are you up to? We take a second, we talk about anything we've been playing, anything we've been watching. So, Andrew, what have you been doing, my friend? How much progression are you in Dogma?
I have not been watching anything because I've just been playing like Dragon's Dogma lately and kind of trying to get some other stuff in order. But I've been putting a lot of time into it. I think I'm on like the 15th mission out of like 20.
Okay.
So I'm kind of on like the back 9. And I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was before because now that I'm stronger, and maybe it's because I played some different classes. Since last week, they did actually put out a patch about something I was complaining about, and that was the frame rate. So you can lock it at a static 30 frames.
Oh, good.
And so it runs so much better. That was the first thing I did as soon as I seen that update went out, is turn that on, and it runs so much better because now I'm not like skittering and jumping all over the place.
A little skitter, a little pitter-patter.
And
a little grab ass, huh?
I still think traveling is a little bit of a bummer sometimes because it's so long. But now that I'm stronger, it's not as bad because I can kind of... And now that I have a better idea of how to play, because I feel like it's not as well explained before, like the pawn system and kind of how they work, and maybe it is a little bit of a lot to learn. But after doing some research and kind of like... Now I have my magic guy to heal me, I have a warrior, and I have a thief that I'm roaming with. As soon as I switched off of my... my warrior, I was running an archer, and I really like that a lot, and I'm like, man, maybe it was just the hand-to-hand, like the close combat classes that I wasn't kind of really like caring for at first, especially like I said, because the warrior, as much as I liked it, was like crazy slow, and sometimes it is hard to fight, whereas the archer, I'm just all over the place doing decent damage, while my pawns, I'm kind of like covering them and doing stuff for them. But then I ended up really liking what's called the Mystic Spear Hand, which that's a really cool vocation. So you're like, you have this spear and you're warping around. You can like summon these like magic daggers that attack, but it's like really like warping and doing fast damage. And there's like a special mastery attack that you can get like right away that just does insane amounts of damage. But I actually ended up dropping that now for the Magic Archer, which has been my like favorite one. And this
sounds good.
And this vocation, you're just doing like magic. It's pretty much just a magic archer. So you have like this mystic bow thing, but you can do like fire, lightning, damage. I think I really like it a lot because I save it for the bosses. There's an attack that you can get right away that pretty much, like I was saying before, you take, or I don't remember if I'd said it before, but you take chip damage to where like, if I heal, my health will only meet me here.
Oh, I think you were telling me that after the show. You wanted to mention it.
I think I mentioned it after. So pretty much you're sacrificing your life with that chip damage. So I'll bring my health bar down to this far, but my damage is based on how much damage I've done to myself. So I can like almost one-shot certain bosses.
Sounds sick.
And if I don't one-shot them, I'll get them to half health and try to keep my health high, and then sacrifice the rest of my health just so that way I can kill people like that.
Dope.
So I'm having a way better time now that I've kind of messed around with the vocations. And something I will say to anybody too as a warning, because I remembered seeing it in guides, but I kind of forgot. Especially to you if you're going to end up playing this. Like I said, I think maybe the magic and the archers kind of where it really shines. Don't start with
Well, that's how I started the original, the remaster one, and that's what I was playing. I kind of like that.
And I've heard that that's really kind of where it's at, so maybe that's why I wasn't faring as much, because I was kind of getting my ass kicked without knowing how to play, is that you find these things on the ground called Seekers tokens. Now, at the beginning, I didn't really explore too much. Luckily, I went from the first town you're in to the second town that you're in. Again, my ox cart got attacked in between, but I didn't venture out because I was so weak. So you do a mission later on for a Sphinx as like an achievement, and one of the things is it tells you it gives you a riddle. I forget how it goes, but essentially you have to go back to where you find your first Seeker's token, and there's no hint. So if you randomly found one on the map somewhere just because you're one of those people who explore every little where, and you don't remember and you don't find the Sphinx until 30 hours in, 40 hours in, there's no clue. Literally, you can't do anything anymore, and then that's the end of that quest line. So that'll stop you. So as soon as you play this game, make sure you write down where your first one is. I happen to have been following a guide, and I know that I didn't explore because I was too weak at the beginning. So my first one I thought was somewhere else. I ended up finding it. I knew it could have only been in 2 places, so luckily I didn't lock myself out of it.
That's a good heads up to all you Dragon Dogma tours. So,
well, what have you been up to?
As far as what I've been watching, that's going to be one of our main things that we're going to talk about. So. I am catching up on my Young Sheldons because there's new episodes dropping.
I thought that show was done.
It's the last season, but it's doing its seasons right now. I think it's on episode 6. I think they go to like 10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's ending. So I was catching up on that. I forgot that Invincible came back on because season 2 went on a hiatus. And Denny reminded me a couple weeks ago, and then Geno brought it up the other day. So I'm starting to catch up on that, and I'm still watching the new. Have you started X-Men 97 yet?
No, I decided I'm gonna wait for them all to come out and just watch them.
Yeah. So what I've just been kind of casually doing is just I just ran through Modern Family again on Hulu. If you guys are interested in it, I've talked about it before, but after rewatching it, it's Seinfeld aside, I think it is my number one sitcom of all time.
Over Big Bang?
Yeah, I think I'll take it over Big Bang because. There's episodes of Big Bang where I completely skip. Like, there's not an episode of Modern Family I'll skip. And what I like about it is it's so diverse. Like, even if you look like Ed O'Neill's, like when he was doing Married with Children, like, there's only so many white trash stories you can tell. With Seinfeld, there's only so many things you can do with 4 white 30-year-olds. But, like, the beauty of Modern Family is, like, you've got... the gay dads, the adoption, the gold digger wife, but she's not. But you can kind of hit that story. The old guy having a kid that's 6. It was like there's a lot of story to tell. And Phil, hands down, is my favorite character. Phil, Cameron. Do you watch Modern Family? I don't know if I've ever really got into that with you.
I've seen kind of like bits and pieces of it here. I was just gonna say I don't think I've seen him in anything else. I only know the guy Phil because he's in the Dawn of the Dead remake, and that's one of my favorite horror movies.
Ty Burrell, I believe his name is. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been slowly kind of catching up on all the shows. Like I said, X-Men, Invincible, Young Sheldon. So I've just kind of been doing that. As far as playing, again, nothing much more on the Final Fantasy VII front. A couple hours maybe, but it was interesting because Casey. And I guess this will be one of the first questions. Andrew just asked me too. He's like, hey, "Did you get more time in?" So I just want to put in context. Because Casey asked me the other day. He's like, "Are you not liking Final Fantasy VII?" He's like, "Are you really just not getting enough time to play?" So lazy aside, because there are days where I do have time and I just don't. But I wanted to break it down because Monday is usually the best day I have to play now that I'm not from home anymore. And Mondays, it's usually recovering from an alcoholic Sunday. Tuesday, I still try to do my best to do a Halo night with TK. It's one of the things I love doing. I've been playing Halo with TK for like 20 years, so I try not to skip on that. The way Andrew and I have the show set up currently, usually Wednesdays that's when I do the notes, and that's when I prep everything, and it does kind of eat up a bit of time. Thursday we record, and then Friday I usually edit. So, when you don't have that time during the day like I used to, like my nights just kind of get eaten up. And then of course Saturday is a good day to try to do it, but I just feel like the last few weekends has been a birthday, it's been a holiday, which leads me to my next thing. Like tomorrow, right, would be a good day to play. But we're doing my dad, me, Deandra, Bianca, my buddy Hutch, and his wife Tamiko. We're all doing the poker run, which is something out here where if you've got razors and bikes, it's this kind of cool little out in the desert track where you hit these different spots, and every spot has like an activity where you got to try to collect a poker hand. And at the end, they stamp your card. So like one of them's like you toss a beanbag and see what card you land on. One of them's like you throw these darts to try to hit your card. So you're trying to build a cool poker hand. That's cool. And you run into a bunch of people. Like last time me and Geno were there, we ran into a ton of people that we knew. It's just one of the cool things you can do if you have razors and stuff out here. My dad just bought a new one, so he was really interested in doing it. So that's what my Saturday will be. Geno was gonna go, but he's dropping out to go to Torrin's birthday. So happy birthday to Denny's daughter. And I believe
happy early birthday.
And I believe my cousin Aaliyah, her birthday is tomorrow as well. So he's kind of more doing that. And then my day tomorrow is going to be, off mobbing out in the desert. So again, hopefully Sunday I can get some good solid rebirth time in. So that's, guys, is what we've been doing. That's what we've been playing. That's what we've been up to. So let us know in the comments down below what you guys have been doing. So with that out of the way, guys, let's move into our main topic, and that is that Halo Season 2 finally wrapped up. It ended about, I think, a week and a half ago. We're kind of just going to do a small recap in it. There might be some light spoilers, so if you haven't finished it, maybe finish it up and then come back and watch it, because I'm not sure how deep we'll get into it, but I just wanted to recap it. Andrew and I did talk about the first 2 episodes that dropped on February 8th. That's how they started it. So we recapped the first 2, kind of seeing how the different flow was moving from Season 1 to Season 2, because one of the biggest turnoffs was a lot of people had an issue with Season 1. It had its flaws. It had the Master Chief constantly not looking like Master Chief. You kind of get to know John more than a veteran battled Master Chief. Some of the storyline wasn't really going around. Not everybody loved the characters. So after Season 2 came out, it does have a very different look. It's a very different season, I'd say. And with that done, I just wanted to bring up this real quick and then we'll kind of dive into it. So if you guys weren't familiar with it at all and you're interested in it, Season 2 of Halo, the TV series premiered on Paramount Plus on February 8th. There's 8 full episodes out that are hour-longs, which is Sanctuary, Sword, Visegrad, Reach, Illyria, Onyx, Thermopylae, and Halo. So
imagine that, hour-long episodes?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, because in my head I was talking to Geno last night, so I'm like, dude, hour-long episodes. And it actually had a really good spin, like compared to Season 1, which did do good numbers, but eventually kind of drove fans off. Halo Season 2 debuted with 354 million minutes watched in the U.S. in its first 4 days. And it was the number one, out of the top shows. Wait, do I have the other one here? I don't think I do. But at one point it was, oh no, here we go. Yeah, Halo was the 3rd most viewed original show at the time when it ran from February 5th to February 11th. So it doesn't say from Paramount Plus. It's saying across all streaming services. So one of the questions I was having, because there's people that I do know that said they are not going to watch Season 2 because they didn't like Season 1 or Season 1 looked so bad. So if this one did so much better than Season 1, either A, they're lying and they did watch it, or Season 2, I mean, I wouldn't say maybe the marketing, because I didn't see a lot of trailers for Halo Season 2, but maybe people just jumped on the bandwagon this time around. So it doesn't surprise me that Season 2 did better than Season 1, and we'll dive into a bunch of stuff. But Andrew, after coming off of going straight into Season 2, how would you say that? Because I haven't seen Season 1 in months, or however long ago it was, so maybe a year it was. How did you like the transition between 1 and 2? How much better was 2?
See, I liked Season 1. I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I do personally think that Season 2 is like infinitely better.
Halo infinitely better?
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Especially too when it comes just to telling like even like mundane stories, or like when even someone's just walking. I enjoy like the little transitions, or I mean even when like Master Chief goes and sits down at I forget her name. I think it's like Rodriguez.
Perez.
Perez. Yeah, Perez. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. That was I was thinking Perez, but I'm like, oh, Rodriguez something. But anyway, when he goes to Perez's house just for dinner or whatever, that was awesome. That's just like kind of a little. I don't want to say like a throwaway scene, but it's not action or anything like that. But I still enjoyed like you're seeing these people living their lives on Reach and kind of getting a feel for like, and it was kind of too because you see like different cultures there, because it never occurred. Not that I'm all for inclusion for myself or anything like that, but I'm like, okay, whenever you see Halo, it's mostly just like white people and like whatever. So seeing like a Mexican home or something like that, I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I didn't really want to break it down so much by episode because I had it in my phone as I was watching and I was doing notes for each episode. But I figured I just I don't know how much you wrote down or what you wanted to talk about, but I wrote down, I would say, the cons that it had and then the pros that I had, and then just at the end of the day, if it's worth watching. You want to do that and then maybe add on, or is there anything you want to point out?
I did the same thing. Instead of episode by episode, I just wrote cons and pros, and some of them may be episode specific.
Okay, so we're just going to kind of key you in on what we liked, what we didn't like, and if you think the show is for you. So one of the biggest cons that I had is that I think there are too many storylines that take away from Halo. Now, obviously, it's John-centric, it's Master Chief-centric. They're all kind of tied to him. He's the Mayana, he's the nucleus, he's the straw that stirs the drink. But
Jardani.
But for me, it's like, I think that was one of the biggest problems. There's just too many people that you're focusing on, because you've got Quan's storyline, you've got Soren and Liera's, you've got Makee and the Arbiter, you've got the Spartans, you've got Prognoski, you've got Halsley, now you've got Ackelson. It's like, that's a lot of things to focus on, where I think they could have trimmed a lot out, and I think what fans wanted was more Halo. But at the same time, there's certain roles you needed in this. You need Halsley to, you need how Cortana gets there. You need the Spartan thing to ground it. So I just don't like how much was going on when I think the main focus was I wanted more Master Chief. You agree or disagree? Too many storylines.
I kind of don't, because I feel like it like all really like led to a point where like, okay, now that this world is like superficially built and we have certain people to fulfill certain roles, now going forward, like it's just easier and we don't have to expand on that so much, because I felt like some of that kind of was like world building, like you had to have Ackerson there for like the Oni.
I love Ackerson.
But I do agree as far as like some of the storylines, like I like Soren's, but I could have done without Soren.
Yeah, okay.
So I easily agree.
I'm glad you said. I thought that Soren was awesome, but it was too much of something I didn't really care about. It was cool. He was kind of a pirate. His wife, her storyline completely got darker, and I love that. But it's like I don't like. Why am I wasting 30 minutes when I could be seeing what's going on with the Spartans?
But then when you see Soren later on kind of interact with Thermopylae and stuff like that, you wouldn't have got that without him. And I'm like, dude, that's cool, getting it from a perspective of somebody who sees it as a negative, and his wife almost seeing like they turned you into a war machine. Like this, why are you glorifying this? Versus Kwan's is just uninteresting at all, like whatsoever. I don't think she's as bad as the first season, but again, they just need to like be done with her and get away from her storyline, because it's just not interesting at all.
Yeah, at all. The next thing I want to point out is, and I don't have a problem with it, and I think Andrew didn't have a problem with it, but I'm putting it as a con, is that he was still out of his suit too much, and I'm looking at it from the backlash the fans gave you of saying, we don't like this, of going, why did you double down on it? And again, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm putting it as a con because I think the average person, a lot of people look at that and they're like, oh, I don't want to see this, and that's not Master Chief, so I don't know why you would do that. But with that being said, as devil's advocate, is there's some really good episodes of showing how strong, how smart he is without the suit. But again, that's where it splits. It's like, okay, are you telling me John's story, or are we going to watch Master Chief? And I think that was kind of one of the big splits with the audience. Again, I'm going to mark it as a con because I think that's what turned off people. But at the end of the day, I didn't hate it. But like even talking to TK, like TK is someone who I play Halo with. He's never played any of the storylines, right? His knowledge only comes from playing the online. And he's like, why does this guy have his helmet off every 2 seconds? So even from someone that plays without knowing any of the storyline, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it turns off a casual fan of going, why is he looking like this? So for me, I'd mark it in the con, but I don't think you care either, right?
Yeah, I don't care personally for me, because I think that builds on Master Chief and John. Like, you know, it's two sides of the same coin. Versus like, is it even like when he played like the original? That's the thing, is everybody looks back at this stuff with like rose tinted glasses. Like when you play like Halo 1 and stuff like that, it's not like Master Chief is got all these one-liners, having all this dialogue and doing whatever. Like he talks like a bit, but there wasn't this deep lore. All that stuff is retroactively added. Right. So you're already doing more than that with this first season for where we got to with like Halo 2 and Halo 3, and even still like the books are what really went back and added like a lot of things as far as like his childhood, being abducted and all these things, and they're telling this story now of him without his helmet.
So yeah, I'd mark that as a con. The other thing I would mark as a con is Cortana. I think was really underutilized. She had her moments, and obviously there's certain things that she did, but Cortana goes hand in hand with Master Chief. I think they should have used her more. And again, because I didn't watch the newer episodes so weeks at a time. I felt like everybody at one point had a copy of her or was like gonna erase her. I felt like she was getting passed around too much, and maybe I gotta watch it again just to see if that made sense. But the biggest thing for me is just how bad she looked. I thought the CGI for Cortana was really bad, and she looks better in the video games than she does in the movie or in the show. And for me, I didn't like anything about it.
It's better than the season 1 where they have like the wig, like the blue wig or whatever.
Well, let me show you.
Like she does not look. I agree. Like she does look like they kind of like skimped on stuff. Whereas other things, like when you see like the Arbiter or any of these other people, they look absolutely great. Like just put a little bit more into her. And at this point, like since she is all digital, stop trying to have like an actress portray her. Just have the voice actor do whatever. Like it'd be like if they did another season of Halo. You're not gonna have David Keith come in and put on prosthetics to try to be the Arbiter. Just make a fucking all-digital Arbiter and have him voice it.
Yeah, so look, this is what I did. I had to pause my screen, and if you guys are watching it, the video, I'll throw it up right now. Let me see. Like, look at my thumb. Doesn't she look like a thumb? Like, she looks like, I mean, look at that neck. And,
like,
not to mention the melon that's resting on top of it, but it looks like she looks like a thumb head, or even like a little weenie head, and it just has hair and like these put in eyes. I'm like, she looks disgusting.
It's better than season 1's, but it's still not right. And I thought the same thing too. Like, okay, just like change her, and she changes throughout the games too. So like, okay, like just take one of the better models and put that in here or something close to that.
And then so Cortana I think just needs to be used more. And then she needs to be more, and I hope she does in the future. And the last thing I'd say with my con is, I don't think it bothers you that much, is they need to use the music more. Like Halo has such an epic sounding, like Gregorian chant rock style song where I want it every time there's a fight. And the sad thing is that there's not many fights in it. So I would use it every time there is one, because we're lucky if we got to fight an episode, right? Not every episode had a battle scene. And again, you don't need to use it when Soren's fighting, but anytime the Master Chief is doing something, they do it. And season 1 didn't do it that often. 2 did it a little bit more, but even the beginning of season 2, when he's fighting all those guys with the swords, I was like, that would have been a good time to use. I know you disagreed. I think you thought the setting didn't really warrant it, but for me, I'm like, dude, capitalize on that epic music,
or at least one of the other songs from any of the game or something like that. So I can agree with that.
Okay, so those are my cons. And if you guys have anything, is there anything else you want to add that bothered you with the show?
I was gonna say I just had 2 things, and one of them also relates back to Quan, because I think this is things that people didn't like with Halo 4 and 5 that they're implementing into this, and that's like that whole chosen one aspect, like Quan's the chosen one for whatever they do with her character, and now it's kind of leading that into Chief. And that's what people disliked about 4 and 5, that I don't really get why you're putting that stuff in the show. I think my last negative is that I think they went through Reach a little too fast. I think, and maybe this is more of a gripe, I think you would have been better served having one episode. Since you want to tell all these narratives, have one episode that didn't focus on Chief or anybody else and be other people trying to survive this invasion. So maybe at 15 minutes each, have 4 different 15-minute stories. Maybe some people do getting away, some people getting slaughtered as they're trying to do whatever. See other people's perspectives on this whole planet. I think actually what would have really been great for an extra episode, instead of that, and again, spoilers, that one Spartan team that just got decimated, is if you had made that be Noble Team from Halo Reach. Have you played Halo Reach? I think that's the one that gets away from you.
I don't think I did.
Well, when you played...
I played 1 through 5.
And they could have served a different purpose that still would have made them heroic, but when you play Halo Reach, which it put Reach on the map, and that and the book, that's why everybody loves it, is you play as a Spartan that's a part of this team, and ultimately what they end up doing is they deliver Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn and help the Pillar of Autumn get away with Master Chief. Now, the Pillar of Autumn isn't in here, so they could have done something else that acted as maybe bought humanity more time for these ships to get away. But essentially, all the members of the team end up dying one by one, maybe not in the most heroic of ways, but what they're doing is trying to be heroic, even till your dude at the end of the game is fending off these ships so the Pillar of Autumn can get away, and he's just left there while the planet's getting glassed and fighting all these people and then dying. So I think that would have been a great episode, instead of the only other time you really see Spartans that are of Master Chief's caliber and stuff like that. They're like, oh, they didn't even get off a shot because they didn't know. It would have been cool to maybe see them do something that ultimately helped in the grand scheme, and maybe it didn't get recognition or praise because Oni hit it just the way they hit their deaths. I think that would have been far better serving than just throwing that team away.
Yeah, that whole team could have been a storyline that could have replaced something I didn't care about. You know what would have been weird with that? It would have been more Halo. It would have been more Spartans. It would have been what we wanted to see, not all this other nonsense. So I completely agree with that. As far as the pros go, moving into Season 2, so my one con is that there's too many storylines. But as a pro, I say at least in Season 2, the storylines got better.
Yes.
So there may be too many still. there might be 10 too many, but at least they're all a little bit better. And one of the I point out is I love what they did with Kai. I love how she kind of had a flip, and then she stood up. She became a full leader. I didn't care for Perez in the beginning, but the more you get to know her, I really like seeing the soldier-Spartan dynamic of how, hey, just because we're Spartans doesn't mean I don't have your back. And I really appreciated that. Like I said earlier, Soren's wife, I could never say her name right. Loris?
I think it's Lyra.
Lyra or whatever. I liked her. She went down a totally dark, like, but she pulls up with the bat and the
infinitely better. Whereas before I viewed her as like an annoying olive oil.
What did she have wrapped around? Barbed wire.
Yeah,
like a little stick with olive oil. And then of course, the more you get to see of the Arbiter was dope, and he finally makes his decision of where he stands. And it's kind of interesting because like, you know, we live in a world full of like religion and stuff, but when it comes to Halo, like none of our god shit matters. It's all about like the Covenant and their religious, like zealot priesthood kind of guys and how they're based around all this other stuff. So it was really cool seeing the Arbiter finally stand up against like the priests and kind of start going down his journey.
I would say I do want to throw in too, because I like that you bring that in, and again, this is spoilers, that even though that that Arbiter does die, there's more than one Arbiter. This isn't David Keyes, because that Arbiter wouldn't even be here in this time, because he's not until the start of like Halo 2, after the blow up. That's his big failure, is the blow up of like the first installation and stuff like that. So there can still be another I've seen people, well, that's the last we're getting of Arbiter, that was stupid, it's not even, it's like, no, even if you look in the game and stuff, like Arbiter is a title assigned to somebody. That is not just one person.
Yeah, so I love that you point that out too, because that was because the ending was gnarly. So as far as the next thing I like is when this season finally, when we got like Halo, we got good, solid
sick.
Halo, because I would say the battles with the Covenant, especially when you start seeing the ship battles and stuff, it was very epic. The quotes, and I don't know if you have any written down, but when John, when they're talking, he's like, you can't do that, and you're like, you have no idea what I can do. I loved it. And then when Kai, she's like, you ever shoot a plasma rifle? No. And she runs out into the battle. You never forget your first time. Dude, I was like, fuck yeah. And then obviously the best scene, hands down, is when Master Chief has his Vader from Rogue One scene.
Oh,
when she's getting ready to blow everything up, and then you start seeing all this damage, and they turn around, they don't know what it is, and you see him just start mopping up Covenant, and then she's like, that's the Master Chief. And dude, and when they pull in there and he starts whomping on everybody, I'm like, dude, that, like, why can't we have, like, more of the season should have imitated the finale, and it's hard to say because the finale has to end on a strong note, and this one did, but it's like, we need a scene like that in every episode.
I would say that's cool, because what it's preceded by is Kai fighting through, and then when Perez is getting dragged away, she has, like, the dual
needlers was so sick.
But there was other cool stuff, I think, that was related to, like, when they do just the Spartan training, even though they're not fighting anybody, that scene was totally badass.
Yeah, and there should have been some music playing. And then the last thing I got to say that I really enjoyed was that there was consequences and there were deaths. There's some I won't get into who dies, but there are people that are not going to be in a season 3 if there is a season 3. And I just like, and some of the people, how they die, you know, you can shed a tear for. Other people are like, yeah, you got what was coming to you. And it was really, I don't know, I just like that there's weight behind some of these consequences. And then obviously we get introduced to the virus that's coming out, and we don't have to dive into that, but like now they're introducing the flood and how that's now affecting all these people, because all these people are pretty fucked right now. So it ends on a pretty strong note.
I was gonna say, I kind of do just want to touch on one that I guess would be a big spoiler because it's deviation from the game, and that is that there's there's one major different death than something else. So in the show, Keyes goes out as a hero. He's trying to help these civilians get out, and he sacrifices himself and blows up all the Covenant that's right there. And a lot of people kind of hated that. And I prefer that to, in the game, Keyes lands with Autumn on the Halo, and then he's a heroic guy. He gets absorbed into the flood and then becomes pretty much like a hive mind that's being, that's being tortured, like with everything else that's there, versus he's dead now. And the same way they can get that information that the Flood needs, that the Hive Mind gets, you get from Perangosky now. Because now Perangosky serves to fill that role. But she is somebody that you're like, no, that's karma and that's what you get. Versus seeing a hero suffer such a tragic fate. So I actually like that a lot better than seeing a hero. Even though you couldn't see a hero suffer that kind of fate, I would have been fine with that. I think that serves an audience, especially to people who are maybe new to the show. Like, maybe they're not ready for something as brutal as that yet, but that's a perfect trade.
Yeah, and of course, last but not least, dude, that last fight with Master Chief and Arbiter was awesome. I wish it was a little bit longer, because it would have been cooler to kind of see these guys throw more weight around, but it just had a very nice up and down kind of fight scene, and again, it looked really, really clean. So, as far as the show, season 2, infinitely better than number 1. But the real question is, because the way it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on you wanting more. And unless there's any other positives you want to point out,
I just had two.
Yeah.
One of them, And anytime there's any sort of fight or anything, especially within the second season, it's good. It's amazingly good. But I loved when they landed on Halo. Like, they nailed that look, like, perfectly.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That thing looks clean.
It looks so
like
good.
When the little grass thing sprouts up and the flower grows, I'm like, yeah, that was cool.
But I also like, too, that they really kind of put an emphasis on, because I don't remember this being so much in the games, and I hate when people are like, oh, you're doing this and that. It's like, okay, these are for the people who read the books. Not everybody read the book, so I don't understand why you care if the show's maybe doing something different. But the Spartan 2, or the Spartan 3 is like what Perez becomes, that these are pretty much I don't want to say knockoff version of Spartans, but that's kind of how they're treated at the beginning. Just like, we're not equals. Like, you are not modified like I am. That they are essentially built as a suicide squad and just being thrown in there. So they're using, just a number strategy versus...
Fodder.
Yeah, pretty much cannon fodder. And I was like, that's dope. That's cool that you see that expanded upon in here, when that's something that wasn't... I don't remember that being in any of the games, but I know about it from the bit that I read from the books.
Awesome, yeah. So... leave down below, guys, what you liked about it, what you didn't like, and if you plan on watching it if you haven't yet. But the question is there going to be a season 3? And as of right now, it hasn't been confirmed. This is from radiotimes.com. The link's in the description if you want to read it. It says, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet whether Halo will be returning for a 3rd season, but the show has reportedly seen strong viewing figures, and it certainly seems that. If the interest is there, the team intend to make more. Executive producer Justin Falvey told Hollywood Reporter back in 2022 that the intention was for the team to be making the show for some time, exploring the wider universe throughout multiple seasons. So, again, you can read more about it, but it boils down to it. It just hasn't been greenlit yet. Again, it ended on the 21st, I think, of last month. So it's been done for a week and a half. I really hope it does. I mean, its numbers went up. I don't know if it doubled. I didn't look that up. But if it went up, I'd imagine they get a season 3, and even if they don't want to make 4, 5, and 6, at least put a bow on the package. At least end it on a note that's like, okay, even if there's not another season, at least end it in a way.
I hope so, especially too the numbers are up, plus the reviews are a lot better than the first one too. But I think what would make for a better one for a next season would kind of alleviate more of our problems, that now a lot of the main players are all in the same space and dealing with the same thing. So even if you do have like, oh, we got to deal with Quan and Soren versus Master Chief, they're kind of going through the same things at different places, that it affects each other, that it's not, I'm just doing this thing over here that has nothing to do with anything else over here. It's like, no, now we're on the same trajectory to kind of speedline that story.
Yeah, I like it. So overall, 2's good. Check it out. You give it the thumbs up?
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was great.
Awesome, guys. So with that down on the way, guys, let's move into questions of the week. Now, guys, if you want to leave a question Andrew and I can answer on the show, you can do so a couple of different ways. You can leave a comment down below in the YouTube section. You can email us at lastcallproductions@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media at Craig Perales. And with that being said, I guess I should pull the questions up. The first question comes from Michael S. Again, I think they wrote us last week too. It says, did you guys hear about that kid that racked up $4K on in-game purchases but didn't know he was spending real money? What are your thoughts? More safeguards on devices or better parenting? I did, and I'll read from the article, but just to answer your first part is, it's kind of hard to throw a black or white thing at something that, like, it's hard to, you can't throw an umbrella statement over something like that, right? Because we don't know all the parents and we don't know all the kids. So I think it'd be kind of a little bit of both probably, and we can dive into it, but it's just, and let's start here too. Andrew and I don't have kids. I mean, hey, sure, we'd love to one day, but the old clock's a-ticking. But, so we're speaking this from a perspective that's not a parent that lets kids on tablets and phones all day, though we have friends and family that do it. I know you've got younger brothers and all that stuff, so we've seen it. So before we get into the story, what are your initial thoughts on that? More safeguards, better parenting? I
didn't hear anything on it, and I mean, it would really depend on what it is, because if it'd be almost like, I know once when I have like 10 brothers and sisters, they were younger.
You say 10? Why do I always forget that number?
They were using my Xbox, and which has like my purchases and stuff on there and my card information, and went through and bought like a bunch of shit randomly that I had to then call and like get refunded. Like, that's my fault for not putting a password on there, and that's solely on me, because Microsoft has enough things on there, it gives you enough warnings. So I think it would really depend on the system. If you have the story pulled up, like, what game is it?
Well,
like,
I don't know if they get...
Is it like a mobile or something?
I don't know if they get to the game. Let's see. So parents share warning after son spends $4,000 playing video games. And it's one of the quotes is, sometimes it's confusing as to what real money and what fake money is. Before we go any further, I want to say, sure, if you don't play games, because generally speaking, every game uses a currency sign that's not the dollar bill sign, and it's not illegal.
Fortnite's got V-Bucks.
Yeah, it's not illegal to use it because it is a general use term. It's a sign on your keyboard. It's not illegal to use it, but generally speaking, everything, whether you're playing a Star Wars game, they have a different system because they want you to know what you're buying. They want you to make sure that what you're buying is for them. And I wanted to point this out too, because like I was looking for ones that were close. And if you guys are watching the YouTube, I'll throw it up. But like even GTA, like that looks pretty close to the dollar sign, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's an S. It's an S with two bumps on top. Like that symbol right there is not that symbol right there.
Yeah, I was saying even Call of Duty, they use like COD. It's like COD. It's like coins or points or something like that, and it's like a gold symbol or whatever, but it's not money.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it's, I mean, and then if it's hard for you, it's like then you can pay attention to what you're looking at because you're going to see a symbol that you don't recognize. But it says, I won't throw it up in the video, but dude, these two parents look like dorks. Like this guy, hey, he doesn't know if the line goes like this or like this. Hey, Geno will get that. So it says, parents Michael and Jennifer Ferry are speaking out and sharing a warning for other parents after they learned their 8-year-old son unintentionally racked up $4,000 in charges on their credit card while playing video games. I mean, I lost my mind, Jennifer Ferry told Good Morning America after finding out the unexpected charges her son Joey had made. After months, the Ferrises were finally able to get a full refund, but they said their experiences is a precautionary story. I think sometimes it's confusing as to what's real money and what's fake money. So it goes on to say that according to a July 2023 report by the Entertainment Software Association, which represents the video game industry, more than 200 million Americans and about 3 out of every 4 children under 18 play video games regularly. An estimated $57 billion are spent on video games every year, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the government agency responsible for safeguarding Americans' finances. So, again, back to the better parenting thing. It's just kind of weird that we live in this world where, like, technology is kind of the new babysitter, right? It's
yeah.
Like you don't want to hang out with your kid or you want some downtime. Here's your tablet, and there's a difference between letting a kid have iPad time for 2 hours and then getting home from school and going, hey, get off at 9. You know what I mean? Kids are getting smarter and faster with technology. And for example, I think it was Geno, but it may have been someone else who was telling me, but like he actually put a lock on his thing so that Grayson couldn't buy games anymore because he was having that, he'd get bored of one, buy another one, and he put a lock on it. And I'm pretty sure it was Geno. And like a week later, like Grayson figured out how to get past it. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to be extremely careful with that. And the other thing is that solves all your problems instantly is don't fucking give your kid a credit card to put on something that you're not keeping an eye out for. It's like I can't have sympathy for somebody. If you don't know what you're doing, then don't do it. Don't put your card on something and then be surprised that this kid spent $4,000. Like that's on you instantly. So, but again though, better parenting, sure, safeguards, yeah. But at the end of the day, you can't let these kids have access to something for 9 hours a day and then expect them not to do something silly.
I would say, yeah, that's more on the parents. Because, I mean, even still, like, me going into anything, I know, like, okay, like, if you can buy stuff in this game, like, what are the microtransactions? What are the things? I would never just, like, give my kids something and be like, here, just go wild without me even looking at it.
But how do you fix it, though? I mean, is it simply just don't let them have something maybe so young? Because the kid's 8.
Why is it? I would have to see what it is, because why is there information on there in the first place? Like, is it a mobile game?
You want to see the game?
No, I would have to see what the game is before I even made a judgment. Like, is it
right.
Is it a mobile game? Is it Fortnite? Is it, what? How are you able to spend $4,000 on what? Like, what are you even buying?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it took you how many months went by before your credit card statement came in? Like, so if he did all that in a month, then yeah, what did you get? And I think it's kind of bullshit that they were able to get a refund. Like, you sign those agreements. I mean, unless the argument is, oh, he's 8, and maybe that's out of the EULA or something like that.
Technically, it is stolen money. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. Anything else? Any other thoughts on that? It's just...
No, I think that's on them. I mean, you kind of really have to know, like, what you're letting people do.
So leave your guys' thoughts down below. The second question, guys, comes from DragonSlayer98. And I always find these names funny, because, like, when people email us, like, I just don't put them in the hotmail.com. Like, I just pull the Dragon Slayer or whatever. But 98, I was looking at it. I'm like, is that the year he was born? Or is that the year he made the email account? Like,
how many dragons he's killed?
That's the number of dragons he killed. Did you ever have a lame or like a stupid email back in the day that you regret?
I I just forget mine because mine's like my first and last name. My last name is so long, so every time I'm typing everything out, I'm like, God.
That's funny. So he writes, have you guys seen the article Kotaku wrote about where a majority of players are playing old games and not new ones? Why do you think that is?
I did kind of see, I didn't read it, but I did kind of see that article.
I'll pull it up, yeah, because I was reading it and I'm like, this article is kind of stupid. It's very misleading on what it is, and we'll dive into that. But you got to remember, take Kotaku stuff with a grain of salt. Like, once upon a time, they were a great news source, but they're kind of the bottom of the barrel. And from what I was hearing recently, they're going to stop doing articles, or at least it won't be their main portion of their website, and they're switching over to strategy guides. So Kotaku is on its way out. But it says 60% of playtime in 2023 went to 6-year-old or older games, new data shows. The report shows that while the industry is growing, the biggest competition is Fortnite, GTA, Call of Duty, and Roblox. So right off the bat when I was reading this, I'm like, okay, so you're making it sound like people are playing Infamous or first BioShock. It's like, no, they're playing online games as a service, so that are meant to last the test of time. And you're pulling out the biggest games in the industry: Fortnite, GTA, Call of Duty, Roblox. Oh, I hate playing those games. So they argue the article I already disliked, but it's I guess it's got some interesting news in it. So it says, a newly released game industry report by market researcher Newzoo shows that while the PC and console market grew 2.6% in 2023, overall playtime decreased as gamers spent more and more time in a smaller list of old games like Fortnite and League of Legends. On April 2nd, Newzoo released its second annual game industry report, including a ton of data and information on what people were playing and spending money on during 2023. According to Newzoo's data, the PC and console game market grew and reached $93.5 billion in revenue in 2023. That might seem like a good news, but drilling down into the data, it becomes clear that it's only good news for a smaller number of publishers and developers. So, and then they have the list. So Newzoo's data shows the top 10 games on each platform, ranked by their average number of monthly active users, or MAU, are filled with old, established titles. Fortnite took the crown on all platforms, including the Switch and PC. The rest of the list include titles that won't surprise you, like Grand Theft Auto 5, Counter-Strike 2, Roblox, Minecraft, Rocket League, Apex Legends, Fall Guys, Valorant, and Call of Duty. Across Xbox and PlayStation consoles, only one dedicated single-player game cracked the top 10, Starfield. Now, to me, it's like, well, literally, Counter-Strike is
That's
still
cool
one.
To see Starfield.
Yeah, there's other, but it's like, yeah, Starfield's the anomaly in this. It's like, out of all the games that could be on there, Starfield is getting as much play as Grand Theft Auto and things like that. But you got to remember, dude, games like Grand Theft Auto, that game is over a decade old, and for a long, long time, until maybe just recently, it wasn't the best-selling game annually. It was the best-selling game of every month after month after month. So like, these games are built to have that player base. Dude, I remember when GTA 5 came out, I was working at Hastings, and we did a live demo, and it was awesome because I got paid to play GTA 5, but it's like, these games are running forever. So when you're saying, oh, they're playing old games, yeah, great old games.
See, I thought, and this is such a terrible article now that I really know what it is. I was like, okay, well, maybe like people are just don't have as much, or the buck doesn't go as far as it used to, so now you're getting discounted games. But of course, those games are always going to be at the top, like League of Legends, stuff like Grand Theft Auto. Those things, some of those games have that. Call of Duty have big, huge tournaments that people play in consistently, and they kind of update the game here and there, but not by much. Counter-Strike Go has been huge forever, and that's because it's I play Call of Duty almost every single day, if not every other day. I also play Elden Ring and all these other games that are 10 out of 10. You play The Last of Us and stuff like that. That's a game you beat once, maybe twice, and then you go back to your other games like Rainbow Six Siege or something like that. A game as a service, if that's the kind of person you are, or if you're a single player person. I don't know anyone who just keeps playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth over and over and over. You beat it once, maybe twice, then you move on to the next great single player game that you want to play, and then maybe in 2 years, oh hey, I feel like replaying Final Fantasy VII. I'll go back and do a run on that. Like, it's makes no sense for that comparison in that article.
I think what people, like, when you read it, what you're thinking is, oh, why are people playing old titles? And I originally was
thinking like Infamous and stuff like that.
I'm jumping to me going, okay, I pay $70, I play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I have PS Plus with all these back catalogs. So I'm thinking, oh, the story would be more interesting if it was going, okay, how many copies are selling of Rebirth? But because of the Game Pass or PS Plus, we're playing backlog titles. I'm like, oh, that's what I thought, which would make more sense. Not going, oh, people are still playing Call of Duty. It's like, fuck out of here.
It's what a game's in a service. is designed to do.
Yeah, so again, be careful with Kotaku because it's just going to be clickbait stuff, but it is kind of, I liked it more just to see what the top 10 games was. Like seeing Counter-Strike 2 on there still, really impressive. So, and just seeing Starfield on there at all.
That was one of my first guesses was Counter-Strike Go.
Well,
I already knew.
You know what I was curious is, like, I didn't see Destiny on there. You know what I mean? It's weird that a game like Destiny still isn't as hot as it used to be. I know it's kind of on the tail end of it, but like, people are playing more Starfield than Destiny?
Yeah, or at least 2.
Yeah, or Destiny 2, yeah. So, thank you. We got time for one more question. So, the last one comes from Anonymous, and they write, and I thought this was interesting. Would you rather shapeshift into any human or be able to transform into any animal? And I always like to ask, like, if you could shapeshift into any person, like, and I don't know if it would matter to you if it was part of the answer, like, do you get their fingerprints, retina scan, and, like, saliva? Or is it just a mere image of who you want to turn into? And I don't know. I got to noodle with this, but what would you think? Because you got to remember, even if you're shapeshifting into Jay-Z, you still don't have his PIN codes to go to his bank and get money out. You still don't have his phone to call anybody. You still don't have his money. So unless you're just going there to be like sneaky in the clubs and probably just go hook up with people and live the life for a minute, like you still don't have any of the resources.
I would only shapeshift into a person it would depend on the definition. If I can only do like a 1-to-1, or could I be like how I am now, but I don't like that I'm 5'5". I want to be 6'1", so I can give myself 6'1",
Michael Jordan height,
maybe thinner, stronger cheekbone, whatever like that. If I could do that and like custom do myself, then by that definition of shapeshift. But if I had to be like, it's either me or Ryan Reynolds, no, because there can't be 2 Ryan Reynolds. And he's way more creative than I am. Just because I look like him doesn't mean I can be as good as him.
Yeah, but you want to walk around Hollywood as Ryan Reynolds and get into clubs and get into cool parties and.
I'd rather take the animal thing and be me, because then animal things you can travel the ocean,
dude.
I was fly,
okay, that's what I was thinking too.
All these other interesting things. Versus if I could just change myself and be like, okay, like I'd rather be taller, skinnier, whatever. I'd rather have that. But if that's not the case, then no, I'd rather you can do way cooler stuff as an animal.
Yeah, I think an animal too, because you can get yourself out of any jam really quick. Just turn into a bird or a fly or something, just a ladybug, and get out of there. Anything fucks with you, turn into a fucking bear. What would be weird is if when you change into the animal, like let's say you're gonna swim to Hawaii from California and you turn into an orca and you're cruising, like that senses would completely probably scare the shit out of me, like just being underwater and using like sonar and shit. So it was a really interesting question. And again, when I thought human would be cool. I'm like, yeah, but you're not gonna have anything. Like you're not gonna, outside of looking like them, like you don't have their money. So I think an animal is the is that the unanimous answer?
I'll take the animal.
Nice. Okay. So thank you guys for the questions, guys, and that is the end of episode 191, guys. Join us next time for episode 192. And until next time, my name is Craig Perales. That is Major Montemare. Cheers.
See you guys out there.